Ferrari entered round 11 of the 2025 Formula One Championship hoping to fight for the win. A tough challenge, considering McLaren's flawless form. Still, the Maranello team believed it could pull something off at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, even though Frederic Vasseur had to leave the track early due to personal reasons. Race pace and tire temperature management were the two key factors, and they were closely linked. Now let's take a detailed look at how events unfolded for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton in the Austrian Grand Prix. The first key moment was Carlos Sainz's Williams brakes catching fire at the end of the pit lane. The Spaniard had failed to start the formation lap, prompting race control to restart the procedure. Everyone returned to the grid, while the former Ferrari driver was forced to start from the pit lane. Unfortunately, the high temperatures played a nasty trick, setting the braking system of car number 55 ablaze. Before the race even began, the first retirement was confirmed. Race control delayed the start by 15 minutes to ensure the track was safe. At 15:15, engines fired up and the lights came on. The SF25 cars were fitted with medium tires, and everything seemed ready for the start. Oscar Piastri got the better launch, surprising Charles Leclerc, who was also hindered by a firm move from Lando Norris. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton defended hard from George Russell, immediately responding to a pass in Sector 2. Then came the first twist. Kimi Antonelli overdid it and hit Max Verstappen, causing a multi-car collision. The safety car was deployed. Marshals quickly cleared the debris and the race resumed by lap 3. Charles Leclerc tried to stay with the two McLaren cars using the 3 DRS zones. His race engineer Brian Bozzi quickly intervened, instructing the Monegasque driver to lift and coast to keep temperatures under control. A similar situation unfolded for Lewis Hamilton. The MCL 39 cars were clearly more efficient and pulled away, making life harder for Ferrari. With the need to ease off the throttle on 2 of the 3 straights, the Ferrari struggled to maintain pace. The radio messages became repetitive. Lift and coast every lap. By lap 13, Lewis Hamilton's strategy came into discussion. His engineer, Riccardo Adami, confirmed they were on Plan B. Like Brian Bozzi, he insisted on managing temperatures. Charles Leclerc began to lose ground. Almost 5 seconds now separated him from Lewis Hamilton. It wasn't clear whether it was a strategic pace choice or actual performance trouble. 1 lap later came a key hint. Tires are ready. This suggested the British driver had intentionally preserved his tires for a stronger end to the stint. Charles Leclerc, meanwhile, complained of small lockups, especially in Turn 1, making car control more difficult. Yet the pit wall's reply remained unchanged. Each lap had to be managed with lift and coast. In the final laps of the first stint, Ferrari's pace came closer to that of McLaren, although the Papaya cars continued battling for the lead. Oscar Piastri kept attacking, but Lando Norris defended smartly. The first tire phase update also came in, giving the pit wall detailed information on tire wear. The first pit stop came on lap 26, with the Monegasque switching to hard tires. A front wing adjustment was made, 2 clicks down. A lap later, his Maranello teammate followed with the same tire and setup choice. Charles Leclerc rejoined in traffic, needing to pass Fernando Alonso and Liam Lawson, who were still on their first stint. Car number 16 quickly cleared both and resumed his pace, careful not to overwork the tires. Lewis Hamilton did something similar, a strong pass on Fernando Alonso down the straight, and a bold move on Liam Lawson around the outside of Turn 6, barely avoiding the grass. The timing screens told the story. McLaren was unfortunately in a different league, but at least this time Ferrari was the best of the rest. The fight now became internal at Maranello. A podium was the top target, as the McLarens had a clear edge. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton pushed to the limit in a duel separated by mere tenths of a second. Around lap 50 came the second round of pit stops. Once again, Charles Leclerc was the first to pit, switching to a new set of medium tires to finish the race. Lewis Hamilton was expected to pit too, but over the radio he insisted his current set still felt good and preferred to stay out. The Briton repeated it several times, but Riccardo Adami remained firm, eventually ordering him into the pits. The Brit reluctantly complied. With 19 laps to go, barring any surprises, the final positions seemed locked in. Charles Leclerc had maintained a stronger pace, which earned him the final podium spot without serious threat from his teammate, who finished 4th. Overall, Ferrari's performance was positive. McLaren's clear advantage was undeniable, but there was an encouraging sign for the Maranello team, namely the new floor. It allowed the red cars to decisively outpace the rest of the field. This must now be the foundation for Ferrari's rebuild, as they await the next aerodynamic upgrade package, which will hopefully be ready for the Silverstone round and will focus on the rear end and mechanical dynamics. Qualifying had already sent a clear signal, and the race unfortunately confirmed what was expected. McLaren dominated the Austrian Grand Prix without rivals, with the only real thrill coming from the internal battle between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri during the first stint. A single episode created some tension. The Australian attempted an overtake at turn 4 during the first stint, when he seemed capable of challenging his teammate for the lead, but ended up locking up. It was a move that went beyond the limits of the so-called papaya rules, prompting the team to advise both drivers not to repeat such maneuvers in order to avoid any potential contact. Charles Leclerc, who finished the race about 18 seconds off the lead, had a fairly solitary run, without notable incidents except for the repeated lift and coast instructions to cool the brakes, a significant issue on a track like Austria. Jerome D'Ambrosio, standing in for Fred Vasseur this afternoon, explained the situation and reassured the fans. From the early laps at the Red Bull Ring, it was clear that the two Ferrari SF25 cars of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton would not be able to keep up with their direct rivals in the McLaren cars. After a few laps within DRS range, the Monegasque began losing ground lap after lap, eventually falling about 5 seconds behind the leading pair by the time of the first pit stop. For the remainder of the race, the two Maranello drivers were stuck in no man's land, too far from the leaders, yet with a large advantage over George Russell's Mercedes. As seen in previous races, Brian Bozzi repeatedly asked Charles Leclerc to use lift and coast, easing off the throttle several meters before the actual braking point. But what's the issue affecting the Ferrari in this first part of the season? The explanation came immediately after the checkered flag. Jerome D'Ambrosio told Sky Sport F1 that the Maranello team was dealing with a brake issue, and that the strategy to manage it involved cooling down the braking system, which had been planned before the race. The Ferrari deputy team principal acknowledged that it was not a pleasant situation for the driver, but explained they were really pushing the limits. Since Charles Leclerc was running alone on the track, it made sense to slow down and ensure the car finished the race. The Belgian also emphasized that everything was under control and nothing serious had occurred. The prancing horse not only secured an excellent podium, its third of the 2025 Formula One season, but also claimed fourth place with Lewis Hamilton, whose only real battle came at the start against George Russell to defend the position gained on Saturday. Lewis Hamilton, who frequently complained of excessive understeer during the race, finished around 30 seconds ahead of his Mercedes teammate, who crossed the line a full minute behind the McLaren cars, highlighting the struggles faced by the Silver Arrows over the Austrian weekend, in complete opposition to what was seen in the previous round of the championship.